Hi, I'm John Bradley, author of The Foul Bowel. And what I want to do today is talk to you about some of the other books about Crohn's disease that are available and what benefits I think they offer and how The Foul Bowel is different to those. So the first one I'd like to start off with is a basic encyclopedia of Crohn's disease. And there are several, and I've just printed out 4 here. They're usually written by doctors, in fact almost invariably written by doctors. I think they're all much of a muchness, Ford versus Chevy, myself. But it's up to you, but you should definitely have one. So books like The Angry Gut by Dr. Thompson, Crohn's and Ulcerative Colitis, Everything You Need to Know by Dr. Fred Sable, Crohn's and Ulcerative Colitis, Understanding and Managing IBD by Dr. Hilary Steinhardt. And then there's the more sort of medical books written more for doctors, which is, and this one's Understanding Crohn's Disease. Costs $100, so I'm not sure I'd rush out and buy that one. So one of the pluses of these is they tell you everything you need to know about the condition, about the treatments, about the surgeries, the drug regimes, the side effects, and so on. So that helps you make an informed decision when you're in with your specialist about whether to have the surgery or whether to switch from Remicade to Humira or whatever, really. The downside of these books is if you read them from front to back, it can be a little bit depressing because it does highlight every single thing that can go wrong with you with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So my recommendation is to use them more as an encyclopedia. So just when there's something you want to know, go and look it up in the book. Now there's a similar kind of book to those, which is written by a patient expert and a doctor, which is Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, the first year. A patient expert walks you through everything you need to learn and do. So this I thought was a bit of a step on from the encyclopedia stage because it is written from the patient perspective. The downside is the first year thing, that actually is a series. So this is one of umpteen books on different medical conditions. And I find it a bit sort of force-fitted into the sort of structure. In week 1 you should do this, and week 2 you should do that. I mean, for example, apparently the first thing you should worry about in month 5 is whether or not you have colon cancer. Personally, I'd rather worry about it up front, have my colonoscopy, and then forget it for 2 years. But anyway. The next range of books is diet books, and there's a lot of these, and they do sell very well, because obviously as Crohn's patients, we'd want to do anything we can to try and sort of minimise the symptoms. And I'll just show you this one, the Crohn's and Colitis Diet Guide by Dr. Hilary Steinhardt. Personally, I'm not sure I got my money's worth with this book. When you've got Crohn's, as you know, food is a bit of a trial throughout your entire life, and you learn what works for you and what doesn't. A lot of the recipes in there wouldn't actually work for me for 2 reasons. A, I've had a lot of strictures, so anything that's got roughage in it is usually no good for me. And secondly, I've lost 4/5 of my small bowel, so things like eggs, for example, really upset me. I'm now lactose intolerant. And I've never spoken to another Crohn's patient who's had exactly the same diet issues as me. We all tend to be a little bit different. But hey, it could work for you if you do a lot of cooking for yourself and your Crohn's isn't too severe. The third kind of book, now we get into the realm of how you can actually cure your Crohn's, or at least radically improve it by doing different things. The first one here is Listen to Your Gut, and this really is a book about a naturopathic approach to Crohn's. I think I've tried going that route, it didn't work for me, but then these days most of my problems are as a result of the surgeries and the drug treatment rather than the illness itself. But if that floats your boat and you're fed up of the traditional approach and big pharma and all those sort of things that we do worry about, then it's definitely worth a look. Then a step further on from that, there's another kind of book which really claims you can cure your Crohn's, or at least put it into permanent remission. And this is the best-selling one of those, Breaking the Vicious Cycle. And this recommends quite an extreme diet. And it has many people who claim that it's worked for them, and also many people who claimed it was a complete waste of time. Personally, I found reading through this, the diet was so extreme. Like, the things you've got to exclude is 90% of what makes up a normal meal. And you have to make everything yourself, even sort of grind your own flour and things like that. Well, if you've got the time and the inclination to do that, and you can stick to a very rigid diet, then go for it. I found that, you know, when I was eating a lot in the workplace where I didn't have control over my food, and you know what, you just got to go with the flow and make the best that you can of the food that's out there. The last kind of book is the personal story. And this is one here. Let me just get it in focus for you. The Pain and the Laughter, Coping with Crohn's. Now, these are survivor stories, as it were, my story about Crohn's. And the pluses is, when you read a book like that, is it does actually make you feel that you're not alone, that you're not the only person going through this. The downsides are that, as you know, pretty much the course of everyone's Crohn's is different. So the story that you're going to read may or may not have a lot in common with your own story. The second problem I found with it is you don't actually learn anything about how to sort of change how you manage your Crohn's. You know, the stories could be quite inspiring or quite depressing, depending on the mood of the writer. But what I was looking for was really, okay, I want to get better at managing my Crohn's. And I felt there wasn't a book out of all these that I've talked about that helped me manage and live with my Crohn's day in, day out, year after year. Fine, I've got a book about the encyclopedia so that when I'm going to have an operation, I can look up about it and have a debate with my surgeon. I've got a diet book. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What there wasn't out there, I felt, was a book to help you get better at living with Crohn's. So that's what inspired me to write my book, The Foul Bowel, 101 Ways to Survive and Thrive with Crohn's Disease. It has a little bit in common with the survivor stories and a little bit in common with the patient expert approach. And I've really tried to combine the best of both. So in The Foul Bowel, I do tell my story. I use that as the basis of the plot. But what I try and do 101 times is when there's an event or a situation where, you know, I wish I'd known in advance how to handle that. I wish I'd pre-planned how to approach a meeting with my gastroenterologist, for example. I wish I'd thought more about how to plan my career development in the workplace, or how to manage the fact that I was going to be off sick for 3 months at a time for surgery. And that's the kind of book that I felt was needed and wasn't out there, and that I've tried to write. The second thing that I felt was important to get in a book about Crohn's is, you know, when you've got a library like this and you read through it, it's pretty damn depressing, to be quite honest. It's, you know, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with you, and I felt that didn't reflect how I feel about having Crohn's. I've had it for 35 years, and although I've had my trials and tribulations, I've actually had, in my view, a very happy and fulfilled life. And that's what I wanted to share with readers, that actually it's not all gloom and doom, it's not all downside, it's not all about things that can go wrong. There's also lots of benefits that come from, I think, flow from having Crohn's disease. It's made me much more focused in the workplace, it made me much more focused on quality of life and on family time. So I wanted to write a book that was really a cheerful book about Crohn's. And that's what The Foul Bowel is. I've been told by people who've read it and enjoyed it that it is a funny book, and hopefully you'll think the same. So anyway, here ends my review of the Crohn's disease bookshelf. I hope you found it of value, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.